All right, we're back with 3 DUI lawyers here who are going to watch this DUI arrest. We've never seen this before. I have no idea what happens, but we're going to break it down, tell you everything we see, and at the end, we're going to give grades. All 3 of these lawyers are going to give grades to all parties involved. In other words, if we had to defend these people in court, well, what do we think? Did they do good? Did they do bad? So stick around for the grades at the end, and let's dive into this DUI arrest video. All right, let's roll.
Car just ran the red light. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good. You have a driver's license with you? Okay. You know why I'm stopping you?
Not any idea.
No idea? Okay, you ran a red light back there at Howard and Kennedy.
I'm sorry.
What's that? Okay, do you have your registration with you?
What is she wearing?
What did you do tonight?
I'm literally just going to a friend's house. I'm from Orlando. I'm out of town.
Oh, okay. Just here visiting?
Yeah, I'm visiting.
Okay. Where are you coming from this evening?
From Orlando. I literally came straight here.
So you just arrived?
Is she naked?
You said? Okay. Is the car registered in your name?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Just give me one.
Let me ask a couple questions, okay? How much have you had to drink tonight?
I haven't drank anything.
Okay. What about marijuana use? You smoked marijuana recently?
No.
Okay, so you got marijuana shake all over your pants.
I planned on it, but I didn't.
Okay. All right.
I didn't yet.
Okay.
So she had just admitted to having shake, basically, weed on her lap.
She said I was going to, but I haven't yet.
Okay,
Yeah,
got
she's
it.
like, I planned on it.
Yeah, if you let me get out of here,
Yeah. She's like, I was rolling a joint. That's why I ran the red light.
All right, that's not what she said.
No.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
For you.
Okay, do you mind stepping out? I'm gonna check and make sure you haven't had anything to drink, okay? All right, we'll go over to the sidewalk. There's cars that come by here pretty fast.
What's your reasoning?
Well, I'll tell you once we get over to the sidewalk. I don't want to stand here in the middle of the street and get hit by a car.
No problem.
What I want to do... Oh, you didn't have to bring all that stuff.
I just have my registration. It's
Yeah, you can hold it in your hand. I'm not going to need. I was able to look it up. Okay.
Nice.
What I want to do is just take a look at your eyes. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Do you wear contacts or anything? Okay. What I want you to do is follow this red light as I move it back and forth, but keep your head still. Okay.
Gotcha.
Are you able to move your hair back out of the side of your face?
No problem.
Perfect.
I think it's worth noting, we always talk about this with the DUIs, is, he didn't really ask her. I mean, he did ask her to get out of the car, right? But he says, I'm just going to check you. We'll, kind of get you out of here quick. Pretty common tactic used by police officers, totally legit. I guess it's just something, if you're the citizen going through this, you should be aware that you do have the right, generally, you do have the right to refuse that.
All right. If you have to blink during this, that's fine. You can blink. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Try to keep your head still.
She's having trouble following it.
All right. Try not to shake your head up and down, okay? So make it hard, all right? Thank you.
Got you.
All right.
Nervous habit. I have
It's okay, no problem.
a couple disorders if you can't tell by
No problem. All you gotta do is follow that red light, okay? Concentrate on that red light. Try to keep your head still.
I think it's a habit because I'm a model. So
Gotcha.
I think I just follow the
I
camera.
gotcha. All right, you're gonna watch that. Try to hold
Work that in there, yeah.
hard for me to see, okay? Again, keep your eyes on that light, okay? It's very important.
Sorry, I didn't know you were still going.
All right, I want to pause it here, and I want to ask you guys, if you had to bet, give me a percentage. What's the percent that you think she's getting arrested?
100.
Mm-hmm.
Just based off of 3 minutes of the, whatever it's been, right? Of one test,
Absolutely.
right? I agree with you. 100% chance that she's getting arrested. I pause and talk about that because everything that comes after that, no matter what she does after this, say she aces these tests after that, I think she's probably still getting arrested just because she did a pretty bad job on that test, right?
Yeah, I mean, so far she ran a red light. She had a really hard time finding her paperwork. Then she comes out of the car with the paperwork, which is very unusual. Her clothes are very disorderly. She's having a lot of weird facial tics, and she can't follow the stimulus.
And you forgot the weed on her lap.
That she admitted that she was going to smoke had she not been pulled over.
Yeah, so that's the point here, is that this girl's getting arrested. So everything that she does after this is really just evidence to be used against her.
Right, adding fuel to the fire.
Yes.
It's very important that you stop moving your head up and down and talking and stuff like that. because what happens is it moves your head,
Sorry,
and I can't see.
I'm a flirt.
I can't see.
I'm a flirt.
Okay. If it's very concerning if you. So this is part of a field sobriety exercise. If you can't even follow a light,
No,
that's
I'm just
really,
flirting.
really.
I'm flirting with you. Like,
That's
I'm
really,
fucking
really
around.
concerning.
Okay, yeah,
I just want you to take it serious, okay?
Okay,
because if you're not impaired, I want to be able to cancel
All right,
that
yeah,
out
I'm sorry,
completely,
I'm sorry.
okay?
I don't mean to flirt.
All right.
My mom might not be happy with me right now.
Hold off on talking, okay? We got to get through all this. There's just a couple other exercises I'm going to ask you to do, okay? You want to take just a couple of steps back for me?
Yep.
She's on her
Room here.
phone.
That's good.
Oh.
All right, I'm going to give you some very specific instructions, okay?
Go ahead.
And I know you said you had difficulty concentrating because of...
I mean, I have ADHD, like,
Yeah.
it's bad.
And I'm going to take that into consideration. If you have to ask me questions when I'm done telling you how to do this, then you'll have an opportunity to ask me questions. But try your very best to listen to everything I have to say, okay?
All right.
And then at the end of that, if you have questions, we'll go through that, okay?
So there's a very specific set of instructions that these officers have to give, right?
Yes.
And if they don't give those instructions, does that affects the validity of the tests, or can, right?
I mean, I think from a realistic standpoint, it's something that they're going to be cross-examined on at trial.
Yes.
But yes, the National Highway Traffic and Safety Administration indicates that these tests have to be given in a super specific way. And if they're not, then it can affect whether or not anything that they're showing on the test is indicating whether they're impaired.
Yep. And so people do, whether they're intoxicated or not, people do kind of, there's a high level of nervousness, right? You don't kind of know what comes next. And people just generally don't listen to these instructions. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have a hard time listening to instructions in
Yeah.
any type of situation.
That's true.
Oh, that coupled with nerves and, trying to make sure they're doing things correctly, but like most people don't really know what the end result is. And so you'll see a lot of people like, did I pass?
Right.
Well, it's
Right.
not that kind of test.
Yeah, I think people too don't understand the importance. Like they're like step heel to toe and count out loud 1 through 9, and then they just kind of walk down. They're like, I walked in a straight line, but they
Yep.
didn't touch heel to toe one time or count out
Yeah.
loud.
Yep. It's a pseudoscience, if you ask me. It's, you can kind of see what you want to see in all these tests. And so I think the bigger picture is, do you want to take the test? I mean, that's up to you, right? But it can be a difficult thing for anybody to pass, and very, very difficult. And they absolutely will find some indicators of impairment if you are even the least bit of impaired.
What I want you to do is place your left foot on the line. It already is. Then take your right foot, place it in front of your left foot so it touches heel to toe. Just put your arms down. Yep, arms down to your side, and don't begin walking until I tell you to start, okay? Great.
Use
So,
my core strength, right?
yeah, when I tell you to start walking, I want you to take
Zip it.
heel to toe steps, counting your steps out loud as you walk down this line, okay?
1,
Well, I don't want you to start yet, okay?
2.
I don't want you to start yet.
Oh, okay.
So when I tell you to start, you'll take 9 heel-to-toe steps, counting your steps out loud as you walk down the line.
All right.
You're then going to turn around, walk back down the line, 9 heel-to-toe steps, counting your steps out loud. I'm going to use this line right here to show you how to do it, okay?
All right.
It'll look like this. 1, 2, 3, and so on until you get to 9.
All right.
Let's just pretend that's your 9th step. I want you to leave that front foot on the line. Remove
Mid-turn?
remove only your back foot, taking a series of small steps, just like I'm doing, okay?
Okay. Okay.
And then you walk back down the line, 9 heel-to-toe steps, counting your steps out loud. 1, 2, 3, and so on until you get to 9.
She thinks this test is just starting now, right? But the truth is, it started a little while ago, didn't it?
Correct, and she's already shown indicators of impairment.
Yes. Tell me about that.
Absolutely.
One of the instructions is not to start until he tells her to, and she already started the test, and he had to tell her a couple of times while she's walking down the line not to start. The other thing is breaking this instruction stance, we call it, when they tell them to stand like this, heel to toe on the line with the hands at the sides while they're giving their instructions. That's already a divided attention test because you're in the stance while you're listening to them, and she broke the stance, and he had to tell her to get back into it.
So there's already 2 indicators of impairment, and before she even thinks she started the test yet.
Arms down to your side. I don't want you to start yet. Take 1 step back. I don't want you to start yet. So right foot in front of your left foot, so
Good now? Yes, sir.
touches heel to toe, arms down to your side. Great. Now I want you to remember a couple of things while you walk,
Okay.
but I need you to stay in that position,
Oh,
okay?
I'm sorry.
Yep. Arms down to your side. So when you're walking, I want you to look at your feet.
Okay.
Count your steps out loud.
All right.
Keep your arms down to your side, just like this.
Okay.
Okay? See how I'm doing it? Arms down to your side, just like this.
Yes, sir.
Okay? And then once you begin walking, don't stop walking until you've completely finished it.
Right.
Okay? Now,
good.
before you start, do you have any questions?
No.
You understand how to...
My legs are sore, so this is honestly
Okay.
hard, like in general.
Do you understand how to do this completely?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think if I'm walking, I'll be better than when I'm just standing still in this
Okay.
hard-ass position.
You can begin when you're ready.
All right. Oh. Okay, let me start again.
Steps off the line.
Did you draw a line there?
Yeah,
It's actually
Okay.
with chalk.
Do the best you
Really?
can.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Stop.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
No,
the small steps.
poor girl. She followed the whole chalk.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Stop.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
So let's talk about this chalk. I have never seen an officer did that when he pulled it out and started drawing. I was like, ooh.
That's what you're saying. Okay,
Yes.
see, I didn't even realize that's what he's doing.
Yep.
But I think that this is problematic. Number one, what if you don't draw a straight line?
You
It
would
seemed
argue
very-
that too. You totally would.
It seemed very precise.
It did. He did a
But-
great job, but like I don't know that I could draw that straight of a line.
But I think, what didn't he have like a specific like laser pointer thing where it
Oh,
was?
did he?
'Cause it was very like swift, like
Well,
Yeah, it's not the first time he'd drawn a straight
I'm
line.
gonna need to see the certifications of that
Right?
laser.
Yeah.
To see if
And have
the
they been
chalk line?
calibrated before and after the shift?
Yes, exactly. Yep. Couple
that
defense
was a
attorneys
lawyer
here.
joke.
You're right, though. I've never seen an officer draw a line like that. In fact, most, or at least of the ones that we see, there is no line. It's an imaginary line.
Right. And the other thing is too, like, yes, he very clearly said 9 steps a couple of times, but when he started the instruction, she said, I have terrible ADD. So as a criminal defense attorney, couldn't you argue, like, she told you she had terrible ADD, and the reason why she took that many steps is because that was the length of the chalk line that you drew?
I, as
argue
a
it.
person who has experience with ADHD, I would definitely argue that 100%.
Yep.
She's not gonna register the number in her brain. She's focusing on what line
Yeah.
he drew.
Yeah.
What kind of monster doesn't walk all the way to the end of a chalk line? You cannot fathom.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, what I want you to do is you can stand right there. Just put your feet together and then arms down to your side. Don't do anything until I tell you to start, all right?
right.
But when I tell you to, you're going to raise one foot. You can choose to, don't do it yet. You choose whichever one you want. You raise it so it's about 6 inches off of the ground. I want you to point your toe straight out. So the bottom of your foot, not yet. The bottom of your foot is parallel to the ground. And then look at that foot and count out loud. 1001, 1002, 1003.
Like, just basically stay still.
And so on
This
until
picked a really bad day for me.
until I tell you to stop. Okay?
All right, sounds
So
good.
hold on, don't start yet. Okay? Make sure you keep both legs straight, just like I'm doing.
If you could get inside of her head, which scary thing to do, she still thinks she's going home. Right? I mean, she thinks she can kind of talk or flirt her way out of
charm,
this,
yeah.
charm her way out,
muster
out
up
of
all
this.
her skills to get
Yeah.
over this.
Exactly. And, I think I don't necessarily fault her for it. The reason I'm bringing it up is because it is so contrary to what the officer is thinking. Like,
Absolutely.
we know how this officer, we've watched thousands of DUI videos. We know what this officer is about to do next. There's no question in any of our minds. But when you look at it from her perspective, there's just a massive gap between
She's
the
like,
two.
nailed it.
Yeah, exactly. Just a huge gap between
Yeah.
the two. And I don't know, I find it
Which to
interesting.
me, it almost speaks more to her being high as opposed to drunk. To me, in my mind, because she's like, "Yeah, I'm
Like,
fooling
bad
this
day
Yeah.
guy."
for me to stand on one leg. You know what I mean, officer?
So I don't know. I just find that interesting, the people's mentality as they go through these things.
Yeah, I was gonna say too, this test has already started. He's told her 3 or 4 times not to start until he told her to. That's an indicator. I also too notice in this frame how far away the car is from the curb. Like she couldn't even pull over safely.
Yep. Yep, she's getting a DUI. And you know what? I will say this officer has done a pretty airtight DUI investigation so far.
Yeah, the only thing I noticed was he didn't ask her before he started
Injuries?
these. Correct.
Yes, I knew it. Go ahead, finish.
Gold star.
Don't start with this. Go ahead, finish.
He didn't ask her if she's had any like back leg or inner ear problems that would inhibit her ability to complete these tests.
Yes, or for those of you that watch the Taven video, do your eyes change color? Which is not a relevant thing here.
If you happen to put your foot down, I just want you to pick it back up and continue counting from where you left off.
All right.
Okay. Remember, you're going to count until I tell you to stop.
All right.
Okay.
That's good.
Do you have any questions?
Do I just pick it up like this?
Before you start, what is your specific question?
I don't have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to
Okay.
think.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you understand how to do it, then you
Yeah.
can begin when you're ready.
All right.
Make sure you're counting out loud.
Oh, like 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 1006. That's all I can do. 1001, 1002.
Nope, keep going.
I don't have a lot of balance. I don't have a lot of core strength.
Just continue.
1001,
She's like, look at my six pack, but I don't have
1002,
I know.
1003,
I was like, oh, it's not a good argument.
1006, 1007.
Okay, you can put your foot down.
All right.
Next, we're going to face this way. Again, we'll put your feet together like this, arms straight down to your side, just like that.
You're being arrested.
Yep.
Ooh.
I knew that was happening.
Both your arms back together like they're praying, just like this, okay? So hold them together. Don't interlace your fingers quite yet. Just hold them like that where you're praying, okay?
She's like, is this a sobriety test?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she's so confused.
I've actually not seen an officer do that before. I like it.
just
Oops.
Well, we just had a client?
Yeah, the client that was set for trial today. He's like, okay, one last test. Turn around, look this way, put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest. I was like,
Really?
oh,
Yeah,
damn.
I had another officer literally just yesterday. I was watching the video and they're just like, okay, so and it was an officer in training. So his sergeant was just like, okay, now tell him that you have one more test. Tell him to turn around. And that's when you
Really? I've
I'm
never
like,
seen that before.
Me neither. I feel like it's kind of shisty though.
Really? I mean, nothing, nothing really wrong with it. I think it's actually kind of clever.
Okay. And understand, if you haven't been drinking, the medicines that you've taken are certainly impairing you.
I knew it.
So,
I was never told like.
So that's a good point. When they think of DUIs, they think alcohol, right? And then you go, oh yeah, I guess cannabis. I guess, heroin. I guess hard drugs too, right? But prescription drugs are often overlooked, at least when I'm talking to people who've been charged. Tell me about that. I mean, can you get a DUI for something you're actually prescribed?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. I mean, right there on the bottle, it probably says do not operate heavy machinery, right?
I think so many times people call us and say, that Xanax was prescribed to me, and we always have to tell them that doesn't matter because you
Yeah,
can still
Ambien.
Yep.
You know, I took a muscle relaxer. Yeah, all of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if you take a couple pain pills, that is impacting you. You're drowsy. Maybe your
Yep.
mind's clouded. So if you are under the influence of those prescription drugs,
Right.
you can get
Yes.
a
And
DUI. For
yeah, and I have this conversation a lot. So people are like, but it's legal. I'm prescribed it, right?
Alcohol's legal too.
Exactly.
So is cannabis.
Right. You could, take the hydrocodone and sit on your couch. You can drink a 12-pack and sit on your couch. That's not illegal. It's the driving afterwards.
It is affecting your ability to operate a motor vehicle safely.
Exactly.
Right.
That's what the law says. Exactly
Yeah.
right. And so people are always surprised about that. In fact, I had a case earlier this week where the guy, it starts off as an alcohol-based DUI, kind of like this one did, right? Like, not quite sure. And then he says he took a Xanax in the morning. Now, this is at night. He does the fields. They're decent, better than this, but they're okay. I could see why the officer still placed him under arrest. Gets back to the station, blows zeros. So did the officer release him?
No.
No. I've said, well, you know what? That Xanax you told me that you took earlier must be impairing you, right? And this guy's up in arms, right? Like, I take Xanax every morning. I don't know. Maybe there's more to the story here, but the lesson is like the statements that this person made, he was just being truthful, right? But the statements that he made were then used against him.
Right. And us as defense attorneys, if the judge doesn't know much about Xanax, how it could affect somebody, how long it could affect somebody. We might be in a situation where we're hiring an expert to say that it couldn't like affect your ability to drive that much later.
Yep.
The other thing is like in that type of situation, if you do take prescription pills, even more reason not to give your blood, because if you give your blood or urine and they test it, it's going to come back. But that doesn't mean that you were under the influence of that drug at the time that you were driving.
Right.
It just means that it was in your system,
Yes.
especially if you take it every day.
Yep. And this guy in this story, I asked him, I said, did you get into it with the officer about how much or when? He's like, no, he just asked what prescriptions I take. I told him and we moved on. And that was outside the car. Now, an hour and a half later, they're at the station and the officer's writing this up as a, drug-based DUI. And I said, he's like, I took it 18 hours earlier. I took it first thing in the morning. There's no way it was still affecting me. I said, was any of this discussed with the officer? He said, nope. And so now in court at trial, there's no conflicting statements, right? Like the officer's case, right or wrong, is pretty solid.
Well, I would say though that with the drugs in Illinois, in order for the officers to be able to testify like that it's affecting their ability to drive, they need to be qualified as an expert on the stand, as a drug recognition expert. And I would also look to see if the officer, if they were a DRE, did they give them drug sobriety tests? It's a different set of tests than the 3-field sobriety test that we always see and have talked about on this channel.
Yes, true. I guess where I was coming from that is because he made a couple statements, but he chose to make a couple statements instead of keeping quiet and exercising his Fifth Amendment right. He chose to make a couple statements, but they were sort of incomplete. Doesn't say how much, doesn't say when, stuff like that. Now, the only way to introduce those things now in his defense is at trial when he's taking the witness stand, which is a tough thing to do and would not typically be recommended from our point of view.
Yeah, that's why we tell people not to make statements, because I think when you're talking to the police, don't realize that what you're saying is hurting you. Like that guy probably thought, yeah, I told him I took his Xanax 18 hours ago. He would never think that it's still impairing me. But to us, we're like, you just made an admission that you took drugs today.
Yes. Yep. Exactly right. Yep. Even the night before, when they say, hey, when's the last time you smoked marijuana? That's a different question than, hey, did you smoke marijuana today? That answer might be no. But hey, when's the last time you smoked? Last night. And I've seen cases, you and I might be thinking of the same one, where they are going to still use that against you. Most people viewing this think it's totally ridiculous that smoking last night is going to now affect you today, but you can absolutely still get written up for a DUI for it.
You know what I'm thinking of? As an officer, if you say I smoked yesterday, I'm going to try and get your blood and urine, and it's going to be in there, and then you're going to be found guilty of a DUI.
Yep, exactly right.
It probably says them right on the bottle.
No, it does not. I promise. I'll show you my bottle right now.
Okay, is it in the car?
Bottle. Yes, it is in the car. I'll show you right now.
Come on up here. Come on up here.
Okay. This is just
6'7" to
not there.
Let me ask you a very important question. Do you have anything illegal on you or in your pockets?
No.
Okay, because there was marijuana shake on you. Is there any marijuana hidden on you anywhere?
No.
Do you have a female for a search? If there's a female coming, okay? If they search you and miss something in their search, and they find it when they get at the jail, it's an additional felony charge, okay? Right now you're only looking at a misdemeanor charge, okay? So you have to tell everybody, okay? Come on here, and I'm gonna have you I'm gonna take your phone out of your pocket, okay?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have you have a seat in my car, okay? So like I said, we are gonna go down to the jail, okay? And I'm gonna ask you to do a breath test when we get there, okay? Are you willing to do that?
What are my rights?
Well, you don't have to take the breath test, okay? You can refuse it. There's no penalty for refusing it. I don't think there is. I gotta look at your driving. Have you ever been arrested before? Yeah. So if that's true, then there's no additional charge for refusing the breath test, okay? However, what it changes is it changes the length of suspension that goes on your license, okay? It turns out if you refuse it, it's a 1-year suspension on your license, okay? Does that answer your question?
Probably not a great idea to take legal advice from a police officer who's arresting you, right? Like she asks, like, what are my rights? Now this officer, again, seems to be everything right. Seems to try to be helpful, but like you can't count on the police officer who's arresting you to tell you your rights. try to learn them ahead of time. You know, maybe like and subscribe. I don't know. And we'll teach them to you.
When we get to the jail? I can't hear you.
I don't know.
You don't know yet? Okay, I'll give you some time to think about it, okay?
I don't know where the keys are, so.
Probably in her pocket. It's locked.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're in her pocket. Melissa, do you have the car keys in your pocket?
I thought you had them.
I don't have your car keys, no.
I do.
Are you able to get them out of your pocket?
I can't.
Do you want? If you stand up, are you able to get them out?
No.
Oh, good. Come
No,
on.
I'm not going to give you guys a warrant to search my car.
Well, we have to. We don't need a warrant to search your car, okay?
You do.
No, not after when you've been arrested on a traffic stop out of a vehicle. It's a warrantless search. Okay. What happens is we.
But I've done nothing wrong.
Okay. I'm just explaining to you what's going to happen. Okay. Either you can stand up and let me get them out, or we can force you to do it. Okay. I'm not lying to you. Everything's on camera. I have no reason to lie to you. Okay. 10-4. If they're female on the way, we'll just wait.
So absolutely the officer does have the right to search this vehicle.
It's an inventory search. He has to take inventory of the car if he is going to tow it, which that's definitely going to happen because she's being arrested.
Yep, totally legit. Happens all the freaking time after an arrest that occurs in a vehicle, like the officer said.
Yeah, she's on the way to do the search. She'll just wait until she gets here. The keys are down in her pocket, so. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it. She had some marijuana shake all in her pants and stuff when I stopped her. So just to let you know. Okay. Come on. Come on, you can come on up here to the sidewalk. So we've got some even ground. That's it. I just gotta hold on to you here, okay?
Do you have anything on you? No. Not at all? You didn't forget about a pill or a little bit of weed or anything? No, nothing illegal in my pockets. No.
Even if they're prescription pills when you.
No, I have nothing illegal in my pockets. Nothing on me.
Okay. There's like really long, deep pockets or something.
Yeah, but I'm not letting anyone search my car. There's no warrant on them. You're what? But no one can search my car because there's no warrant. Like, I know my rights.
Okay. Melissa, come on and have a seat again.
So many people say, I know my rights, and they're just dead wrong.
If you had known your rights, you wouldn't have done the field sobriety test because you're clearly under the influence.
That's true.
Also, he does have the right to search the car, and he does not need a warrant. So all around, you do not know your rights.
I know.
Also, number one recommendation: don't tell police officers you know your rights.
I know. So I just drive this crazy. So many people say that, and they're like, "Oh, that's not true." It just doesn't make you look good. You know what I mean? If you know them, go ahead and
Invoke them.
Invoke them. It's exactly. That's a great point. The action that is meaningful when it comes to your rights is invoking them. The action that is meaningless is stating that you know your rights, especially when you don't.
Agreed.
How old is she?
Scale.
What's that?
How old is she?
Like 22-ish.
Oh, okay. What's the children?
It's like
Oh,
an
damn.
Instagram,
Spice grinder with residue. Spice grinder with residue, so it's 3 spice grinders with the green residue. Yep.
This is possession of cannabis with intent to distribute.
Car getting fixed? Like, you can call them.
My money
in the
Yeah, I'm not taking your.
search my car without a warrant.
Melissa, I'm not taking your money.
I just saw you put it in the trunk.
Yeah, it's going with you. It's in your property bag. Why would I take your money? I'm on camera. Why in the world would I do anything like that? That's crazy.
Like, why would you even think it's federal? Like, why would you?
Because we don't want to. Your car has to get towed. So
Yeah, so you don't expect me to get towed?
yeah. So what'll happen?
I don't have money for that. Like, you have no idea what I'm going through right now. I just see it on me with my coworker, and that's why I'm here.
So the reason that we take that stuff out of the car is so that the tow truck driver doesn't steal it.
I mean, you have no warrant to search my car.
We don't need a warrant.
No, I know my right.
You don't know.
Probable cause.
You are
Probable
wrong.
cause.
You are wrong.
Someone spilled weed on me? Yeah.
You are wrong.
Happened. No, I'm not wrong.
She forgot that she admitted.
I'm Italian. I have lawyers all in my family. Like, I will sue the 34, 1034. Seriously. Like,
I have lawyers all over my
All
family.
over.
Like I said, the first decision that needs to be made is whether or not you're going to take the breath test.
right.
an admission.
Yep.
So what'll happen I'll explain the process to you of what's going to happen, but I first need to know whether or not you're going to take that breath test because it matters.
I want to talk to someone about why my car was searched when there was no reason for it to be searched. Like, I know you need probable cause, and there's no probable cause.
Okay.
There was no probable cause. Okay. So, I have some words when I get there, and I have some calls to make.
You are more than welcome to speak to an attorney about that.
I have some uncles.
Yep.
I can hear my little head nephews now saying this.
I know you need a probable cause to search the car. I'm not stupid. I mean, I think you're on the wrong one because truly,
Don't you know who I am? I have lawyers all over my family.
What would you like to do about taking
All
the
over.
breath test? Well, you can't talk to anybody about that right now. You have to make your decision on whether or not you want to do the breath test first, okay? You will have an opportunity to make phone calls. And really, honestly, if you feel that your rights have been violated, there's no rush. There's no rush to talk to anybody right this second. It's not going to change anything, okay? I have no reason to lie to you. So we searched your car incident to an arrest. And that's what happens in the state of Florida. I know you may disagree with me, and that's okay.
I disagree with you.
You are welcome to find that answer on your own. There's no harm in that, okay? But I do need to know, as part of the law, when you're arrested for DUI, you are required to submit to a breath test and or a urine test, okay? So the first portion of this is I'm going to ask you to do a breath test. Are you willing to do that?
Cardia, I feel like my rights are literally violated.
All right, well, let me...
Is this America or what is this?
Let me read something to you, okay? Because I have to warn you of what happens if you don't take the test, okay? So if you refuse to take the test I've requested of you, your driving privilege will be suspended for a period of 1 year for a first refusal, or 18 months if your driving privilege has been previously suspended, or if you have been previously fined. Okay. Okay, so you are not allowed to call an attorney before you make this decision. So do you want to take the breath test, yes or no?
Look, I need to make a call.
So let me read this next portion to you.
My rights have been violated, and I'm not going to do anything extra than what was.
So let me talk to that point a little bit, okay? A portion of this paragraph probably not going to apply to you, but some of it does, okay? So your right to remain silent has nothing to do with taking the approved chemical tests for the purpose of determining the alcohol and or drug content of your blood. Also, your right to have a lawyer present before you make any statement and during any questioning has nothing to do with approved chemical tests for the purpose of determining the alcohol and or drug content of your blood. Your right not to answer any question has nothing to do with such approved chemical test.
It's basically saying that you don't have the right to have an attorney present while, they're asking you this question or you're making this decision.
Yes, while you're making the decision to do a blood, breath, or urine test, because a blood, breath, or urine test is not a statement, right? As opposed to Miranda, which is, you have the right to an attorney. Any statements you make, can and will be used against you. Two different things.
Right.
There.
It's actually like you could think about it as an exception to Miranda because they are in custody and you might think that they're under interrogation because they're asking you to submit to the breath test. But like you're saying, the sample of the breath, blood, or urine is not a statement that you're making.
Right. So it doesn't fall under that test does not fall under Miranda. And by extension, sort of the warning or reading of the instructions of that test does not fall under Miranda.
And in fact, if you're asked to provide a breath sample and you say, I want my attorney, that in and of itself can be counted as a refusal.
Right. And so this is a topic that just constantly comes up. But if I refuse this, but if I refuse that, every state is different. Every state is going to be different. What the officer just explained to her is different than where we practice. There's a lot of similarities, a lot of differences. We tend as defense lawyers who practice, who defend DUIs, say where you should refuse. You should refuse that field sobriety test. You should refuse this breathalyzer test. And that is the blanket answer. But it may not be the answer in every single scenario, right? It's not the perfect, there's no one perfect answer. Agreed?
I agree. I mean, you know yourself, if you know 100% that you have not consumed any alcohol and that you're going to blow zeros, then I would much rather have you take the breathalyzer test than do the field sobriety test.
Yep.
For her, if she is under a .08, it honestly could help her. 'Cause
Yes.
she might not get her license suspended.
Yes.
But I mean, I think for me, if I'm watching this, I would advise her to let me negotiate with the prosecutor and get something out of her pleading guilty, because I don't think she's winning a DUI trial.
Probably not. And so let's try to apply that. Should this girl do the breathalyzer? Well, I don't know. It seems like Florida. I don't know Florida law, but if she did not drink anything tonight, then she should do it.
Sure.
Right? Like right now, if she refuses, she is getting 2 charges for DUI. One of them for alcohol, one of them for drugs, and maybe even a third for a combination of alcohol and drugs. If she does the breathalyzer, it helps her reduce, or if she does the breathalyzer and blows under the legal limit, she reduces or eliminates the penalties to her driver's license and eliminates 2 of those charges.
Right.
So,
I agree.
All right. So
But that's only if she knows she has not consumed any alcohol, because there is no way that you can know that you're below a .08, because there's so many factors that go into it.
totally right. The only way you can know if you're below .08 is if you have not had anything to drink all
like
day. All day.
24
Yeah,
hours.
24 hours. Yes, exactly.
So the reason that you're not allowed to call an attorney is right here on your license where you sign your name. You're signing right next to this where it says, if you're arrested for DUI, you are agreeing to participate in the test when asked by a law enforcement officer, okay?
Implied consent.
That's why you're not allowed, because you've already agreed to it, right?
Yeah, so no one told me that when I was getting my license. So
It's
why-
you signed the paperwork.
Yeah, like no one told me that though.
It's on the paperwork. I don't work there. I have nothing to do with that, you know. But
I don't work for the
but
DMV.
I do need to know if you're going to take that test or not.
I mean, honestly, like just because I know my rights and why my car should not have been searched. Like,
Yeah.
I think I should.
Okay. Understand that. I don't get upset about it. That is completely your choice that you have to make. I'll get you out. We'll go inside. Okay.
And he pushed hard for that breathalyzer, harder than I typically see. Maybe that's because there's an extra charge for refusing in Florida, and he was trying to do her a favor. I'm not quite sure, but either way, seems like she refused. I'll start with Megan this time. Megan, give me your grade for the girl, the defendant.
I'd give her a C. I mean, I feel like she was overly confident in the beginnings because she was calm, cool, collected until now. But usually, typically, that's what we see. They're calm, cool, collected, respectful, comply with all the instructions until then they're in the back seat of the car and now they're pissed.
The reality hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reality hits, and now she's, my uncle this, my family are lawyers, and you're gonna rue the day that you pulled me over in my bikini. So it's just, my gut response is a C just for the overall.
Yes, I gotcha. Kel?
My gut response was a D, but I'm gonna bring it up a little bit based on listening to Megan and give her a C-. I agree. She was, calm, cool, collected with the officer. She wasn't a dick to the officer. And I think that that's the only thing she has going for her. But she ran the red light. She couldn't pull to the right. She has weed all on her person. Her clothes are disorderly. I thought like her pupils looked dilated from here. She shows many indicators of impairment on the field sobriety test. Conducting the field sobriety test in the first place is a mistake, in my opinion, 100% of the time. And she made admissions that she took medication. So there's no way, in my opinion, that she's ever going to win this DUI, even without the breathalyzer.
Yep.
And even in the car, even after reality hit, I mean, she said a lot of things that we as defense attorneys wouldn't like her to. But again, she wasn't like a dick to the officer.
Yep.
So I'm going to say a C- based on that.
Yeah, my grade's similar. I'm going to go a little lower, a D. I mean, most don't drink and drive, or don't, be impaired and drive. I think she was. Never a good idea. I know we're defense lawyers, but we'll be just fine if nobody ever drinks and drives again. Number two is, yeah, she did. She didn't help herself when she was under investigation. She did all the tests, failed miserably, made statements, all those things. Our job, if I was defending her in court, she did a pretty bad job, right?
Yeah.
Of allowing me to help
It's going
her.
down fast.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't do me any favors there. And the stuff at the end, whatever, it's forgivable, but she was wrong on a lot of things. She's a young girl, citizen, not the police officer, not a lawyer. I give her a pass on a lot of that, but she was just straight up wrong on a lot of stuff. The only reason she doesn't have an F, in my opinion, is because she wasn't combative. She wasn't a jerk. And the officer didn't deserve that. In this case, he was just doing his job. Which brings me to the next point. Give me a grade for the officer.
Overall, I feel like I'd give him an A.
Yeah.
He was very respectful, explained everything pretty clearly, did not get mouthy with her, gave her the opportunity to comply. Instructions were good, did the fields, instructing her through the fields very well, waited until a female officer can pat her down, did all the things right, and was very polite overall.
Yep.
So
Kelly?
I totally agree. I would give this officer an A, definitely. He never escalated the situation, even like when she was refusing to give the keys to him. He was like, you know what, I'm just going to put her back in the car, wait for the female officer to come. She'll pat her down and get the keys that way. I'm not going to force her. When she was in the back of the car and saying all this stuff, at one point he took a deep breath, but he never was inappropriate with her. He never, ever, ever crossed that unprofessional line. He never lost his cool with her. He did well, instructing the fields. We pointed out, I think, one or two things that maybe we would have crossed on, but overall, A for the officer.
Yep, absolutely an A for the officer. For the reasons you guys said, he did everything right. He's got an airtight case, in my opinion. And he was good, respectful. This is what I would hope an officer would do when he's stopping people impaired on the road, conducting a good investigation, taking somebody off the road. All right, let me tell you that as a DUI attorney, a defense attorney, I realize I skew, sort of one way, but it was a breath of fresh air to see an officer who was very professional, conducted a good investigation, and did what good law enforcement officers are supposed to do. So in terms of the girl who was arrested, it seemed like she was going through some things. I hope hopefully she's, gotten to the other side of this case by now and moved on and is not repeating these offenses. So I wish everybody luck here. It's nice to see, a video like this where nobody's acting too crazy. That's a nice breath of fresh air. So thank you for watching. And if you are interested, we've got another crazy DUI arrest where things go a lot differently. I'm going to link to that video here. It is absolutely worth watching.